Here now to answer that question, did Chris Brown get off too easy? Entertainment attorney James Walker, Jami Floyd, who is anchor for In Session, psychiatrist Gail Saltz, and CNN senior legal analyst Jeff Toobin. Jeff, let me start with you. We all saw those pictures of Rihanna beaten. I mean, 5 years probation feels like a slap on the wrist to me.
Well, for better or worse, and I guess for worse, this is a fairly typical sentence for a first-time offender. Keep in mind, because of California's fiscal crisis, if he had even been sentenced to jail time, he probably would have gotten out very early. So, lots of stories intersect here. The one good part of the sentence is that his community service will be picking up the trash. It will be real, unpleasant community service, not what celebrities get, like what Martha Stewart got,
right.
Counseling youth or something. He's really going to have to do something pretty unpleasant. So I'd like to be outraged, but I'm not as outraged.
But you say it would have been even or a different scenario had he hit a stranger versus his girlfriend.
I think so. First of all, assaulting a complete stranger would have meant you'd have a complainant that wanted to go forward. Prosecutors, their hands are tied in a case like this, where you have a victim who really doesn't want to go to trial. And it's not just because Rihanna's famous. This is a problem in domestic violence cases across the board.
So Gail, address that, because that is the problem. I mean, there was you got the girlfriend saying, I want this to just go away.
It is a problem. It's why, frankly, the judge, in my opinion, needs to step up and make... They didn't need Rihanna. They had the evidence. The message should have been much clearer. We have a problem in this country with domestic abuse. It shouldn't be that if he picked on a stranger, he'd go to jail, but because it was his partner, he won't. I find this a very poor and distressing message.
But it's difficult for prosecutors because they do have to consider the victim's wishes.
James, jump in.
I would beg to differ. I'm disappointed in what he did, but as an entertainment attorney, the man has lost $10 million. Let's point that out to you.
You say they both really blew a golden opportunity here.
But he's lost $10 million. When you look at his touring, he could have made $100 to $200 a night this summer for the entire summer, and that's not to excuse what he did, Gail. But I want to point out that he has suffered a lot, and I want to be careful that we don't make him the face of domestic abuse. I think he should have.
Wait a second. So the fact that he lost a lot of money. So if you're rich, you don't have to go to prison, but if you're poor, you do have to go to prison.
No.
Is that what you're proposing?
No, Jeff. What I'm proposing is that we give the full equation of the story. I put a post up on my Facebook page today, and I was surprised that many women said, these are two young kids. And I work in the entertainment industry, and you have to understand this is a 19, 20-year-old man with millions of dollars, and we can't excuse what he did. I'm not in any way...
He has a lifetime ahead of him in which he can abuse other women. I mean...
No, let me finish. But my point is, I would like to have seen him do something symbolically, maybe a week in jail, maybe a month, but I don't think giving him 5 years, which he could have gotten, would have been the answer.
Jail time,
and this is why... But this gets back to what Jeffrey said earlier, and you're completely right. This is fairly typical. We're all paying attention to it because it's Chris Brown. I've represented hundreds, and I mean hundreds of domestic violence defendants.
But
just like Chris Brown, this is actually a tougher sentence than you usually get with a deal.
Kind of
this is a deal,
does
not
that
after
send to our kids?
Because
they're not paying attention to what the norm is.
And not the right the celebrity.
Not the right message. Not the right message. But the problem is with the system, not with this case. If we don't like this result, we need to look at the laws related to domestic violence across the board.
Then there is a problem with the system because the upside of being a celebrity is he can make $10 million. But on the same end, he needs to be able to stand up for...
Let me chime in. The message to our young men is very disturbing to me. I have a halfway house, as many of you know. I'm very disturbed that he didn't do what we call the 5 R's, Jeffrey, which is regret, remorse, responsibility, and take some kind of level of regret, remorse, responsibility, and respect for what he did to this young woman. But at the same time, we have to allow him to rehabilitate himself and recognize that, as she said, this penalty is pretty standard, and given the situation in California.
I'm all for the 5 R's, but the fact that he's an entertainer should have nothing to do with how he's sentenced. The whole goal of the legal system is to have equal justice under law.
But nor should it mean a stiffer sentence.
Exactly. And that's what I think.
And that's what's hard. That's what's always hard in these celebrity cases. Is because the celebrity makes everybody crazy, and some people are treated more harshly, some people are treated more leniently. We want to try to treat them like
Jeff, what he should have done is he should have announced a domestic abuse tour on February 10th, 2 or 3 days after the incident. He should have announced, I'm going to go on tour, but I'm going to donate some of my
domestic abuse
Yes, where he speaks to you.
I do think the community service could be.
Why
Community service could be tailored.
Why do people who screw up become the experts. I don't want to hear from Chris Brown about domestic violence. I want to hear about someone who's against it, not someone who committed
but
it.
Jeffrey, the reality is young folks want to hear from Chris Brown.
I think
you're not about domestic violence.
I think the big message here really has to be about the larger issue of domestic violence.
Okay,
that really has to be the big issue.
And we got to end it there. Who knew there would be so much passion on so many sides of this debate? Okay.